004 and 2021-005. Applicant Reese Flanagan of MMA LLC, representing Troy Kunkel of 598 Westwood LLC, is requesting a rezone of properties located at 817 West Washington, parcel 29583 of City Edition, Block 62, Lot 6A7, part of 14 and 17, 855 and 865 West Washington, parcel R29581 of City Edition, Block 62, Lots 4, part of 5 and 6B, and 873 West Washington, parcel R29580 of City Edition, Block 62, Lot 3 of the City of Stephenville, Yarth County, Texas, from B2, Retail and Commercial Business, to PD, Plan Development. The applicant will present the plan development. Steve.
Madam Chair, if I may, Faith, I'm getting information that the video is not feeding out. If there's a way. It's okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry,
Sure.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
On August 15th, 2021, a conceptual plan was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission for an intended townhome project. Concept plan includes or proposes 23 units on 9.94 acres, which is 24.47 units per acre, with 51 parking spaces. So by ordinance, that provides 2 additional spaces than what is required. The applicant is requesting approval of PD. And again, as in previous cases, I just want to point out that sections 8E and J outline the requirements that must be met in order to approve the PD. So we have some maps included in the staff report for you. We also have the plan development ordinance requirements, and again, those 2 sections that I called out for you to refer to on what the approval requires. Moving on to the other documents in your packet, we of course have the application from the applicant and developer, and then we have some renderings of the elevations of the properties, floor plans.
This is essentially the same as the ones over on Collins Street, you say?
Very
That's what
similar.
It says Washington and Collins. So,
Yes, sir. Same developer.
same elevation.
Budget. Yes,
Same.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Additional elevations. We also have, the developer has provided this description locating the, identifying the location of the land. And then, sorry, I bounced out of there for a second. We have an updated site plan, and I believe it was Commissioner Leslie that had expressed some concern regarding the 40-foot easement and the landlocked property behind this development. Mr. Flanagan came back with a modified site plan, which will allow the continuation of that easement. It keeps the same width of that easement, and so that's reflected on this particular site plan. This is a rendering of the site plan itself, showing the access before, and if you see that easement did not connect to Washington, but we should have the updated site plan does show that it connects to Washington and provides them egress to the property. The last thing, and this is something that I truly appreciate, the submittal. And it is basically the developer's attempt to walk us through those approval requirements. And so he speaks of everything that is listed as far as what those requirements would be. And so this is basically anything from the landscaping to the fencing to the means of egress, ingress, how the land will be used, what the structures will be constructed of. So answers all those questions that are required for approval in the PD section of the ordinance. So with that, ma'am, be glad to go into greater detail on anything or answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Steve?
problems with a lot of stuff that's in here.
Okay, but make sure it's questions for Steve. If it's discussion, we will do that after after we have a public
Motion.
hearing and a motion.
Okay, on 8E, was a schedule provided with the packet that we just, not part of our submittal?
I believe we,
Page 41.
Commissioner Vines, I think I did request that.
For the schedule for permitting, I don't think we provided a schedule for full construction.
Okay, so there's the schedule will need to be completed. You're correct.
Okay, so I'm not obtuse. Typically, where it says development schedule, an application for a planned development district shall be accompanied by a development schedule indicating approximate date when construction, et cetera, et cetera. Does staff ever receive those?
I believe we discussed that, Mr. Flanagan, and we, although, I mean, at this point, the civil plans have not been submitted. They are basically requesting a rezone to the PD. So this is for the rezone, and then we would have to deal with the development schedule on the preliminary plat.
Okay. I'm just looking at what it says here. but I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
and
understand
that's a great
typically what you
observation,
do.
but the complexity of providing a schedule at this time when we haven't made it through the civil review process
Okay.
will allow us to come back. If we get the rezone approved, then we can come back with the preliminary plat, and we will have that development schedule at that time.
Okay, any other questions for Steve? All right, let's see, is it Mr. Flanagan?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to approach and
Sure.
give us an update?
Yeah, so thank you all for having me. To answer the question about the schedule, we're happy to definitely try to provide one. As Steve mentioned, we were a little hesitant at this point just because we wanted to get through the zoning and get to some kind of civil design phase before we lock ourselves in when we would kind of get to construction and get through construction. But again, I'm here to answer any question from an engineering or development standpoint.
Are these townhouses managed or sold?
So we will be platting and intending to sell each one of those.
Will and I'm gonna ask some questions because I have a point I want to already. Is there gonna be an HOA or everybody's sort of on their own?
I don't know if that decision's been made for sure, but there would likely have to be an HOA to manage landscaping and some other pieces to it.
Okay, so when this was on the docket last month and then withdrawn, Ms. Aceto, who owns the trailer park, had comments that she was concerned about requesting denial.
Yes, sir.
Is this letter still a valid letter? Have y'all had any more conversations with her?
I've had a couple conversations with her. At this point, she's requested that that easement remain as is, exactly 40 feet wide, length and width, everything is remain. So that's what the new site plan did. And the last conversation I had with Mrs. Aceto was stating, we will revise the site plan to
Yeah, because it's
work
gonna
around
be
that.
difficult to get a trailer in and out of there any other way.
Sure, and we honored that easement. We're staying out of it.
Madam Commissioner, if I may, we also gave the 200-foot buffer notice on this particular meeting for this particular case, and Ms. Saucedo did not resubmit the letter. She is aware that the easement is going to be honored, and I cannot speak as to why she did or did not, but the opportunity was just as the same as before.
Okay. The PD documents state that the building will either have 3 stories over an overall height of 38 feet 6 inches, which is highlighted on page 64 of the paperwork by staff. And unless my math is wrong, page A6.2 tells me that building's almost 11 feet the top of that ridge is 11 feet taller, so that building is supposed to be in a total height of 38 feet, it's almost 50 feet tall. So I don't understand how you can have, 3 stories over an overall height of 38 feet 6 inches, you have one or the other. The ridge is almost 10 feet, 11 feet taller. And I don't know what that line means that goes through the building because there's no floor there. So I don't want to be obtuse, but you can't, it seems to me that if you're gonna, that we went through this last month on the other end where the city manager was talking about the fire truck. You got, I mean, this building's almost 50 feet tall. I mean, almost 60 feet tall. It's not
that measurement is to
38, I'm sorry, almost 50 feet tall. So it can't be 38.4, because the top of the building is the top, the overall height is the overall height.
I could be incorrect, but I believe that the measurement is to the top plate, which is likely how the ordinance reads, as far as 35 feet is typically the max height requirement.
That's correct.
So that 38 and change was stated just to show that we're about 3 feet higher than that.
So, but if you're putting in here that says the overall height, well, the overall height is the top of the building. That's overall. So it can't be, if it's 38 feet, you gotta chop off, I mean, am I being obtuse or not?
Is it a nomenclature issue? It sounds like we're talking about two different things. You're talking about the actual tippy top.
I just read here, it
And-
says, or an overall height of 38
Right.
feet, but the building is actually almost 50 feet tall.
So how does the ordinance read, Steve, when it comes to,
Maximum height is
Maximum
35 feet.
height.
Yes, ma'am, but with this PD, you can, approval would be a variation.
and we
without having
did
to
that
go to
before,
board
right?
adjustment.
But we thought it was an additional 3 feet. So what Mr. Hines is saying, where he's saying it's actually,
If you look at, if you count the siding, I mean, I'm just looking at the drawing here. You come up here, and these are 6-inch boards, and that equates to the dimensions, and you count the siding, so that it's 6 inch, so there's 20 to here. If this is 6 inches, just proportionally, if they're saying that, that's not even a plate, that's, if we're saying that is 38 feet 4, what's this?
Mr. Flanagan, do you have
We would be open to changing language. I guess what I want to make sure of though is we definitely didn't intend to confuse anybody with that. We were just trying to compare
I see what you're saying.
the same measurements from the ordinance to this. So by stating 38, we just wanted to make sure we were comparing, I believe in the ordinance when it's 35, it's the same measurement. It's not to the picture of the roof, it is to the top floor, I guess, if you will.
But that's not what.
That's not the overall height.
That's not what the drawings are saying. I'm just concerned about approving semantics here and not really try to get crooked. If the language in the PD that you're putting forth is going to be the ordinance which says 3 stories or an overall height of, and our drawings are showing where it says the overall building height is 38 feet 4 in 29/32 inches, but I got 11 more feet of building to the ridge. How can you say overall only means this, but it doesn't mean that? Did we put a sign up there that says fire can't go there?
No, sir, we've had meetings with the fire department about these buildings, and I believe they've seen these elevations. So we're certainly not trying to slide anything by, and we're very open to revising that PD language also to clarify overall height versus top plate and just making that a little more clear.
Okay.
What's
so
the
it's a
top
matter
plate
of top
currently?
plate. What is that?
Typically, that is to that right before the roof pitch. That is, the 3 floors added together before you have the elevation from top floor
What's
to
a
the
ridge?
kitchen. Yes.
And then the roof
But there's
is
But we would also, be very careful with that language. We would clarify.
These-
we would
Okay.
define that.
Steve,
That
if,
top plate is not
What's the
represented by the
ridge?
drawings.
What
if
is
I may,
so,
we're just doing a rezone right now, right?
That's
We're not doing the
correct.
plan development yet.
correct.
We're
Correct.
just
We're
voting to
questioning on the
rezone.
So you're right.
the property.
We've only had a conceptual plan
This-
Yeah.
presented.
Yeah.
This
it's
is,
back.
we're
We're-
way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, you're right, Nick. Let's put a pin in this. Right now,
Okay.
what we need to consider is simply, shall we rezone this? And leave it at that. And this can be addressed down the road.
All right.
Um,
I appreciate you pointing it out.
Thank you.
That is
Okay.
unclear. So.
Thank you, sir, appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and open you're good?
I'm good.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing. Anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this rezone request? Anybody who wishes to speak against? All right, closing the public hearing. Commissioners, we need a motion to discuss.
I move that we approve the rezone as presented.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Recommend to cancel, yeah. My only concern, once again, is traffic. It's a tight area, really tight. That area on Washington, it's so narrow, and you're across from the school, and you've got 50 cars coming in and out.
Well, Ms. Saucedo in her letter mentioned that, the traffic, I'm surprised the school district hasn't come in and spoke up of the concern, because you're adding a lot of foot traffic and automobile traffic in that area. And then there is getting the kiddos up and down to school. But if they don't tell us they have a problem, I guess they don't have a problem.
Will there be a traffic study?
Thank you for asking that question. Yes, sir. During the plan review, the engineer will have to give us an engineer's statement that either a traffic impact analysis is required or not required. And that will be based on the projected number of trips, based on the number of units.
Reese, in Ms. Saucedo's, and I realize she didn't put forth the letter up, but there are,
Have you closed the public
my
hearing?
understanding is
Yeah, no,
there's
we've
a
closed the
water
public
main
hearing.
in
So
that
he's
easement
going to-
that's going to be.
Oh, yeah, we can't reopen the public hearing, so
Okay.
you can't address Mr. Flanagan. I'm
That's-
terribly sorry.
That's fine.
So, what was your point that you were trying to get at, Mr. Hines?
To confirm that there is a water line main going into the
Okay,
park underneath that easement.
okay.
It
Okay,
should
well, if what-
show on the map as far as the water lines and sewer lines in the
all right.
application.
Once again, our question is rezone. So it's not to address these issues. Our question is simply, shall this be rezoned from B2 to plan development, and how we feel about that. So does anybody have anything to add or argue one way or another?
There is a 4-inch water line, 6-inch sewer.
There is a 4-inch water line. Thank you.
6-inch sewer.
6-inch sewer. All right, are we prepared to vote? All right, the motion stands to recommend to council approval of this rezone request. Mr. Hines, are you in favor of approving?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so this will go forth to council with recommendation that they approve the rezone request from B2 to plan development. So you'll want to be present at the next council meeting when they discuss that. Thank you, sir, for your time. I know it's a late one. All right, moving on. Case number RZ 2021-018, applicants Alan Vandergriff, Chad Vandergriff, and Coriana Alant are requesting a rezone of property located at 683 West Tarleton, parcel R29685 of Park Place and City Edition, Block 3 and 69 lots 1B, 2B, 4B, 12, parts of the city of Stephenville, Erath County, Texas, B2 retail and commercial business to R1 single family. Steve.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair and Commissioners, you likely recall this case from last month. They had requested R3 zoning. That was denied, recommended for denial. Council did deny that request. The applicant has resubmitted and is now requesting R1 zoning. If we look at the current zoning, it is B2. Future land use is single family, and I believe that's what led the commission to the decision last month. Otherwise, it's similar situation. They have a property that has been utilized for B2. It's a single family residence. It was a salon at one time. They were wanting to revert it back to a single family residential property. With that, ma'am, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Steve? Looks like maybe, are you the applicants for this case?
No.
No, you're just here for the,
Fair
You're just here for the pleasure. Okay. Bless you.
Good job.
Oh, my. Okay, so the applicants are not actually here. I apologize for making that assumption. I just couldn't figure out why you would be here otherwise, but okay. Let's go ahead and open a public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak in favor of this rezone request? No? Anybody who wishes to speak against? Closing the public hearing. Commissioners, we need a motion.
I move to recommend to council approval of RZ 2021-018.
Second.
All right, I'll give it to Nick. Do we need to discuss or we good to vote? All right. All those in favor of recommending to council approval of this rezone request, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Yay. All right, do we have a, yes, sir.
May I say two things before? First of all, thank all of y'all, it might be three. Thank you all for your service to the city. And I want to point out, I've never introduced y'all to Faith. She's been helping us with a lot of these meetings, and I just wanted to recognize her for her efforts and thank her for being here tonight. And we also have our officer that showed up to provide security for us, and then, of course, we have Councilman Huckabee over there. So
He's a diehard.
he's
Yeah.
always a supporter of P&Z. So again, just wanted, and thank you to the young ladies on the civil project. And, I just wanted to recognize everyone for their efforts tonight. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, do we have a motion to
I move we
shut
adjourn.
this down? We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're done.